I'm Justin Davis, and this is Joe Camp's RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis, and today I have something new from Hubsan. This is a little carbon fiber plug and play ready to fly FPV racer. Pretty cool because everything on here is completely carbon. It has a beeper on board. It has a full-size VTX on here with a little antenna on the back. It comes with a 2S battery, and it kind of looks like it might be a proprietary one, but I'm going to show you that it's not. You can use any type of 2S batteries on this one that will fit inside this battery bay right here. But this is a nice RTF option for beginners, absolute beginners. You'll have a lot of fun with this one, mainly because you don't have to plug it into your computer or do any beta flight or anything like that. Pretty much just charge up the battery, plug in your goggles, and start flying FPV. Now, this is also nice for a beginner line of sight trainer. If you want to get into that, use this for a line of sight trainer and then move up to something a little bit better, a little bit bigger maybe with brushless motors. Now, speaking of brushless motors, it does not have brushless motors. You notice those are actually brushed. So these are different. They're pretty good sized brushed motors, but I'll show you how they perform in comparison to something like a brush motor. Now, a brush motor is going to give you way more punch out and more performance, but this is pretty much a trainer quadcopter, and I think that's what this one's being marketed as. But it looks pretty cool out here in the field. So I have a bunch of batteries over here to the right hand side, and let's go ahead and plug one in. We'll do a line of sight flight test first, and then we'll do some FPV with this little guy. Here we go. So to arm it, you're going to do sticks out to the sides, just like that. You're going to come into an idle, and to disengage it, you're going to do the same thing, and that will turn off the motors. So let's go ahead and arm it again, and we'll come off the ground. Here we go. It's actually pretty peppy. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that peppy on brush motors. Wow. Really smooth too, and this transmitter is not actually too bad. It's got larger thumbsticks on here, so it's actually pretty easy control. Nice LED on the front, and I should have a few different flight modes on here. I should have sort of a simulated acro mode. I'm gonna find out here when I start doing the flight test, but pretty impressed. Let's bring it over here real quick while we have a full battery, and this is a stock battery that I'm flying for you guys. Let's just go ahead and do a punch out. 1, 2, 3. Not too bad. Not too bad. So this is not bad for beginners. If you're just getting into this, this would be a pretty cool option. It's really, really stable. Flies really, really nice. Look at that sort of hands-off hover there. There's absolutely no wind today, so this should be a nice flight test. Really cool looking in the air. Look at that. So let's go ahead and set this guy down, come try to land it without breaking a prop, and let's do some FPV with this new Hubsan Carbon Racer. Man, I just want to keep flying this thing. This is awesome. I'm always expecting good things from Hubsan because it's one of the companies that I do like a lot. And I just flew into myself. I'm just going to leave that in the video. Hit my jacket and kept going. Didn't break a prop. Got lucky. All right, guys, here we go. Let's do some FPV. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed that little flight test of the new Hubsan H122D, also known as the X4 Storm. And I was just on the website this week, on Hubsan's website, on hubsan.com, and I noticed a new section that they've added on their website. It's called a racing section, and they've added this drone on here, and it's a little carbon fiber racer, but it does have brushless motors. It's not a brushless type of setup like something like these other little micro brushless that you see on my channel. This one's primarily for beginners. It's a brushed racer, but it does have carbon fiber on there, and I'm just going to get a little more into that in a second. But I'm pretty interested that Hubsan is starting to push into the race market. This is pretty cool for beginners because this lets almost anybody fly FPV, and pretty much anywhere, because it's such a small one and it's not super loud like a 5-inch can be. So this is a nice little park flyer, or something like out in a nice open field or a baseball field. And it does come with a sort of proprietary battery. This is a little 2S 710 milliamp, and you're going to get about 4 minutes to 5 minutes flight time with this if you're just cruising around in that first standard mode. But you can also fly other batteries on this one as well. So I have a 2S 500 milliamp battery in here, and this one gets me close to the same type of flight time, maybe 4 minutes total. This one probably gets me into the 5-minute range, but this is a 2S 500 milliamp, and this is a full speed battery, and it has an XT30 on here for flying my other micro brushless. But the cool thing about this is, if you look really closely, both of these connectors are actually exactly the same. So these are 2S balance plugs, and pretty much any 2S battery with a 2S balance plug on it, you can fly it on this quadcopter. And also, since it's flying on 5.8 gigahertz for the video transmitter, your video signal's coming out to your goggles. If you decide to use some other type of goggles, you can also buy the ready-to-fly version with the goggles. This is the one that comes ready to fly without the goggles. So if you want to get some other type of goggles, I'm going to suggest a few different ones down below, mainly the SkyZone O2s, which I'm flying right now. I really love those. You can record the videos down to DVR, but if you do get some other box goggles and you want to record your videos, don't worry about it too much, because this little guy has an onboard DVR. That's pretty cool. You can record 720p videos right to a little micro SD card that just goes right into the side of the quad. So just like this little guy snaps in there and snaps out. And I'll just give you a little close-up of that. If you can see it from the side here, you can see from the very top that the card is actually sliding into this little slot right there, and that's where the DVR is on this quadcopter. Now, I did bash and crash this one around the playground, and I hit a few pretty solid objects, and I was kind of worried about these props, but the props seem to do pretty good. They do have screws on the very top of them, so you'll need some kind of little tiny screwdriver to replace these. And you also get 4 extra props in the box, which is cool. They're also labeled A and B on here, so you won't have any problem switching these out. But I think if Hubsan makes future race quads, if I can say maybe a con of this one might be that these are proprietary props and they have to come from Hubsan. But Hubsan is kind of known for doing that to pilots. They make a lot of their stuff proprietary, and they kind of seem to reinvent the wheel when they make a quad, so to speak. It's usually original design coming from Hubsan. So I think it would be cool in future versions. They probably won't do this, but it would be nice if we could use regular style props on this FPV racer. That would make it a lot more user friendly. Remember, I showed you this balance plug before. This just plugs in just like this. I'm going to go ahead and hold and start up the transmitter, plug this battery in just to show you that it works. Right there on the bench, you've got your LEDs. It's making a connection to the transmitter, and you'll see it blink at first when it's making a connection, and then when it's ready to go, it should go solid red on the back. You also have a little LED on the front, which is super cool, because if you're flying this line of sight, you can really see where it's at. You can find the front of the quadcopter. If you're learning and training yourself to do FPV flying, you start out with line of sight first, and then you get into the goggles. Now, this little guy also does flips and rolls, but you know what? It's going to be a sort of a push button flip and roll, and it's not really going to be like a true traditional acro type of flip and roll where it's totally user controlled. It's more of a push button on the transmitter. So that might be one other kind of maybe a bummer, but If you're just getting started in FPV, you probably don't really want to be flipping, because most times in acro, when I did my first flip, I flipped straight into the ground and broke some stuff. So that might be good that this is just a push button flip mode. And also on the back of the quad back here, you can see those LEDs, but check this out. This is a pretty cool feature too. And I noticed that this bends down or bends forward. So if you crash, this is probably not likely to break off, because when I first looked at this, I thought from side to side, that doesn't feel really good, and I'm afraid that that would break off. So since it does move, that makes a big difference. I've seen other FPV racers that have the antennas just completely break off, and in a crash, that's kind of a bummer, because that pretty much ends your day. And also, if you're wondering, this is compatible with Fatshark goggles, because it is transmitting on 5.8, so pretty much any type of goggles will work on this quad. And let's just take a look at the bottom of this carbon frame. The motors seem pretty well protected. They have sort of plastic surround on the bottom and on the top, so the motor is completely shrouded inside a case. And if you look at the bottom of this, this is a pretty nice grade carbon fiber. You can kind of see it shiny there. It's not a very dull carbon fiber, so I'm feeling like this is going to hold up. And it looks to be about 2.5 mil to 3 mil bottom plate. It is a unibody, so it doesn't have replaceable arms, which I would normally like to see, but for a bind and fly or an RTF, this is kind of standard for beginner stuff. And you can see on the very bottom also, you have access to the buzzer on the bottom. So if you lose your quad out there in the field, if you turn off the radio, you'll actually hear this start to beep. So I'll just go ahead and turn that off, and you'll hear this beeper start to buzz. So you can walk right up to it and pick up your quad if it's lost in a field with high grass. And when I turn my transmitter back on, the buzzer stops beeping. That's pretty cool. I would like to see that somehow there was a button maybe on the transmitter itself to activate the buzzer. And also on their side, it does say that it does orbiting and follow me and point of interest. And I'm not really sure that that's something that is going to be so accurate with this quad, because mainly it's sort of a manual flying FPV racer. So typically modes like that are on GPS style quads, and it might be kind of a gimmick on this particular one, in my opinion. So I don't really see the need to be able to do waypoints and orbit mode and things like that. You're going to be flying this one completely manual, doing some FPV fun. So let's go ahead and open up the transmitter and turn that on. And I'll go ahead and press and hold on the power button there. Plug the battery in, and I'll put the strap on just for safety on the bench here so I don't hit the strap when I power it up for you guys. You can see that LED in the front there. It's just waiting to be activated. You'll see it come active there. So we're all good there, and pretty easy to arm it. You're just going to go sticks down and out just like that, and to disarm it, you're going to do the same thing again. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the transmitter. Now, I was saying before, it's not really like a high-end transmitter. It is more of a toy-grade transmitter, but for your first go-around with FPV and flying quadcopters, this is nice, mainly because it does have these wider stick ends on there, so it's not like the sharper sticks that kind of fall off your fingers. These are nice and comfortable on your thumbs. And you have that optional part here, right, for your phone if you want to scan this and open up the app on your phone. You can do that, and you can see the real-time view. That's nice as well. And you also have control here for your LEDs, and I'll just turn that off and turn it back on. And the same thing for the back of the quad. Actually, not for the back of the quad. Look at that. The back LEDs do not turn off. So interesting. Only the front LEDs turn on and off. But it also does have a built-in beeper on the bottom of it. So you see this beeper on the bottom right here? Now, traditionally, I'd like to have this set up on a switch. On regular FPV racers, that's the way we do it inside Betaflight. But since we're not working with Betaflight here, this is completely its own thing. So the way this one works is you turn off your transmitter. Say you lost your quad out in the field and you're looking for it in, say, knee-deep grass. If you turn off this transmitter, you'll see that this automatically starts to beep. So you can walk right up to it and find it. And now when I turn the transmitter back on, once I get to the quad, it stops. So that's a nice feature of this quad. Now, aside from being able to change to different modes with the top two switches here, you also have two switches over here that are video mode right here, and for taking stills that record down to your DVR. That's kind of nice as well. So overall, I think this quad is a good one for beginners, mainly because it has really simple features, and all I did was charge up the battery with the USB charger in about an hour's time. And I went out and flew this on the same day and had an experience with it with my goggles. So if you're looking for something that's super easy to set up, charge the battery and fly it, Hubsan always does a good job of pulling off these types of products for people. I feel like it was super easy just to unbox it, charge the battery up, and go fly. Really, really nice. So some final thoughts about the entire package. I'm not a big fan that these are proprietary props, and I said that before, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it again. If they could change that up in the next version of this one, that would be great. I do like the body. I like the carbon fiber a lot. As an experienced FPV racer, this is the kind of stuff that we look for. We look for nice grade carbon, something that's going to be super rigid and doesn't feel like it has a lot of flex, which this frame doesn't. Now also on the bottom it has a beeper, which I really like. The built-in DVR, it's running 5.8 video, which is great because you can use that with any type of different goggles out there. And the brushed motors actually do pretty well. For a beginner, you really don't need to start out on something like brushless motors because a lot of times people over throttle the quadcopter and that causes a problem. So you get into situations that you normally wouldn't get into with less throttle. So this is going to be more of a cruiser and less of an aerobatic style quad. So if you're looking to get used to FPV, this is a really easy way to do that. And once you do get used to it, it does have a tiltable camera on here, so you can see this camera goes straight and you can tilt it all the way up to about 35 to 40 degrees. That's a lot of tilt. That's almost like a professional FPV racer style tilt right there. So 35 degrees plus, that's a lot of tilt, and that's going to allow you to go faster and faster. So as you progress, just tilt that camera up as you get better at flying this quad. But one of the coolest things about it, I think, is the fact that you can use different batteries on here. You don't have to use this stock battery. You can buy other 2S batteries, and they have the same balance connector on them. Just plug those in, and you can fly those batteries all day long with this. And you're going to get that 6-minute flight time out of something like a 2S 500 milliamp. Most of them do fit inside this battery bay, and the strap can go over them nice and tight. And I've seen other brushless versions of racers very similar to this one, and I have to say, for the way they have this one built with the brushed motors, this is actually not bad. And if I was going to recommend this to anybody, most definitely anybody that's getting started, this would be a great trainer for somebody. If this was my first quadcopter when I first got started, this would have been absolutely awesome. Like I said before in previous videos, I built a ZMR 250. The entire length of the quad was a PDB. It was really hard to solder up everything. So when you crash, you had one little crack in the bottom of the quad, there goes your whole PDB. But now they've consolidated everything inside here and made it a lot easier for people to replace parts. And that's kind of the nice thing about toy quads versus hobby grade quads. When you move up to something that's hobby grade, you're going to have replaceable parts, and most of the Hubsan products do have replaceable parts, so that's a big bonus for getting into FPV. But this is a great place to start, guys. I had a lot of fun with it, and the fact that it is plug and play, literally plug and play, that's probably the biggest pro of this entire setup, is that it's around $100 and you don't have to make a huge commitment to find out if you like FPV. And that's what this is all about. Test the waters, see if you like it. If you like it more, and then you can go ahead and get that second quad and get something brushless, like a micro brushless for the next one. But this is a very mild flying racer, so it's not super scary, and it's pretty easy to fly. They've done a pretty good job on the H122D. The only thing I'd like to see next time would maybe be a full acro mode and a manual type of flip instead of the push button flips. The push button flips could be better left on the toy quads. So my star rating for this Hubsan H122D, definitely going to be 4.5 stars, mainly because it did everything it was advertised to do, for the exception of the waypoints and the follow me and the orbit modes and stuff like that. You probably could just leave that to the GPS quads and fly this one as an FPV racer like it's intended to be. So 4.5 stars out of 5 is actually an excellent rating for my channel, because I usually don't rate things this high. So I had a lot of fun flying this one, and I think anybody that's new to FPV will enjoy it too. So I'm going to recommend this one, and I can stand behind it. So thanks again for hanging out with me and flying this quad, you guys. I'm Justin Davis on Drone Camps RC. Please do subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.